Galimera. Good morning. Well, as you can see today, the weather not as good as yesterday, to be quite honest, but still nice. A little bit of a breeze. It's still warm. It is cloudy over there. However, according to Amanda, she says, morning Ginge, Thursday's weather, lovely and pleasant, plenty of sunshine, high of 23 degrees, will feel like 27. Enjoy the day. And so looking across the balcony, yeah, it does feel just a little bit grimmish slightly. However, maybe that could be a reflection of the news today, because I've got to be honest, the news today is kind of all over the place, all right? And I've got to be honest, today's probably been the hardest news to write because of the confusion that's going on. Now, the first thing that I'm going to quickly clarify at the moment is that arrivals at the airport today. Now, on the board at the moment, it says there's a flight in from Athens, which again will take place. Also as well, Edelweiss Airlines flying in from Switzerland. We know that those flights from Zurich have been taking place, but also at the moment, the board is showing that there is a flight with EasyJet from Liverpool. We've been checking on the movements of that flight. Now, just because the flight appears on the boards doesn't necessarily mean that it's flying, because as you know, it's all an automated system. Slots have been given out. The computer program has to run and do its thing. So at the moment, unless somebody is on that flight that can confirm that that flight is flying in today, then I will believe it when it lands. And at the moment, the flight from Liverpool is supposed to be landing at 1:05 this afternoon. There's been no mention of it in the local press. Normally if we were having the first flight from the UK coming in, trust me, the local press would be down there in droves. But at the moment, there's no reaction from the local press at all as to whether there is anybody coming from Liverpool here. Hang on a tick. Domino's arrived. Let me just let him in. Here you go. At least we know you've turned up, fella. In you go. There you go. He's come for his breakfast. Right. So that's the situation at the moment. Can I just thank all those people yesterday that were sending me messages saying, oh, yeah, there's a flight coming in. Like everything else in Greece, until it happens, I will be very sceptical. And unless you are on that flight or you know someone on that flight, then obviously this is part of the confusion that just seems to be happening this year like I've never known a year for it. Right, now, when it comes to COVID stats in the last 24 hours, they're also not looking good either. Infections were recorded yesterday at 2,812. Well, I'm pleased to say the infection rate has gone down. We had 2,293 new infections recorded across the country. We had 5 new cases identified at borders into the country. That is also up from 2 on the previous day. Now, according to the national stats yesterday, there were 2 new cases in Macardo. There were 3 new cases in Kefalonia, 30 new cases on Corfu, and 2 new cases on Zakynthos. Now, those 2 cases on Zakynthos can be confirmed. They were 2 students from the municipal high school of Zakynthos. They were found to be positive for coronavirus after checks were then made at the hospital. Obviously, they are now going into quarantine. One incident became known in the early hours of Wednesday morning, and that concerns a baby boy, and the other was, again, a little girl from a school as well. So at the moment, that can be confirmed. However, unfortunately, a 70-year-old man lost his fight against COVID here on Zakynthos. He passed away last night at 11 o'clock in the local hospital. The man reportedly had been hospitalized there for the last few days, and he is the 13th victim of coronavirus here to pass away on Zakynthos since the pandemic started, and he is the 3rd victim this month of May here on Zakynthos. So once again, our condolences to his family. When we actually look at deaths at the moment in the country as a whole, deaths are actually down. Yesterday we reported 63 deaths across Greece. Well, today it is 53 new deaths have been reported across the country. Again, 96% of those had underlying health problems or were over the age of 70. As it comes for critical cases in ICUs at the moment, that number is actually down as well. So that's down that number's gone up actually. I do apologise. The number now is 642, and that is down, up from 639, of which 402 are male and 240 are female. Right, now, going back to the news, again, there's been so much confusion with what's been said. I've never known a news story where I've spent so long trawling through different reports on stuff to try and get an overall picture as to what is actually in the pipeline, and that will become apparent as I carry on. Now, yesterday, Marcos Damikas, who is a local agent for travel companies here on Zakynthos, he was speaking to Hermes Radio, and he made it clear that in his opinion, he said, we cannot consider Zakynthos green because of TUI and without a decision by the British government. Now, he stressed that Boris Johnson's statements that this green list for the destinations that do not need quarantine will not be extended anytime soon. And certainly this does not give cause for optimism. What Mr. Dantas further stressed from his part is that at present circumstance, it is very difficult to see bookings from Great Britain coming here to Zakynthos. Anyway, he also said another parameter to be taken into account concerns the costs of tests to be done before and after the trip, and this is very high, and in some cases proportionally the price of tickets to Zakynthos for a family of 4. So basically he's been saying what everybody's been saying, is that the cost of testing for people if they want to come over is more than what the holiday that they're actually going to come on is going to cost. Anyway, according to the latest reports in the British press, this is Mr. Dantas talking about this, the Canary Islands will be the next destinations to be added to the UK's green travel list in this first phase, despite the fact that Greece had actually sent its Greek tourism minister, Mr. Thriakis, to London to sought to include Greece in the next review of the green list. Anyway, Mr. Dantas also stressed that only Poland has opened, one of the major tourism markets for Zakynthos, while Italy, which is another, as they describe, a remarkable market, they're actually going to be opening on the 15th of June, as he says they do every year. He said there is interest from the Italian market, and we are already getting phone calls and emails about reservations. He also stressed that for Italians, it's cheaper to come to Greece for a holiday than it is to actually have a holiday in their home country. Anyway, he said, don't expect British tourism. He said it won't come if we don't turn green. This is the local man saying this, especially for the British market. He said he insisted that the landscape remains cloudy, making it clear that no one will come to Greece if he knows that on his return he will have to stay in quarantine for days. He also further stressed we can't give people false hope, but tell the truth. It is not possible to say that for TUI we are green lit. Is it possible to exclude the company's flights from quarantine? So basically what he's saying, TUI's going to have to follow the rules of everybody else. And basically, until TUI UK we're talking about here, not TUI, the big overall company, obviously don't expect the Brits to come. This is basically what the locals are saying. Mr. Damitas said, I personally think that Jet2's policy is correct. even if it takes a risk to open British borders to Greece earlier and perhaps lose some flights. He also said he noted that Portugal, which was included in its green category from the outset, would not be able to take any flights. Britain saw a sharp increase in bookings, but under the circumstances, can we compare this year with 2019, which some people have been doing? However, he said the comparison, in his opinion, is more like the years 2009 and 2008, which was literally during the time of the financial crash here that happened in Greece. He said about this season, he said, while on the demand for villas, he commented that this type of accommodation has customers after July, while he also stressed that in Zakynthos, there is already an oversupply of villas. So basically what they're saying, there's more villas than there are people to come and occupy them. Anyway, finally, Mr. Damatas noted that we should now give support we need to Greek tourists and stressed that the compilation of a road network from Patras to Pyrgos will have a huge benefit domestic tourism. Beyond the issue of road safety, there should be political pressure for the immediate completion of the work. Now, what he's talking about there is the road that people will drive on, normally coming from Athens, Thessaloniki, who want to come and visit Zakynthos. Obviously, people from Patra as well. Zakynthos, will, as always, has been a popular holiday destination for the Greek tourists. So he's basically saying, let's concentrate on our own home market. And if the British come, it's probably going to be a bit of a bonus. He also concluded, I predict an increase in bookings once we become green, and because accommodation will be open, I will predict a 50% increase over last year. So there again, a 50% increase. What are we talking about? International bookings? Are we talking about local bookings? But he's basically saying he's not being very over optimistic about the British market and it finally getting here. Now, the story that really yesterday had me in a massive quandary, and I can't stress to you the amount of time that I spent on this yesterday just trying to get the clarity of what is being reported from various news media outlets all over, who I think are as just confused as everybody else as to what's going on. But I'm going to go through this reasonably slowly, just to emphasize how we are affected at the moment with what's going on. Now, what was reported on Wednesday was that ambassadors for 27 EU member states announced that fully vaccinated travellers will be able to enter the bloc this summer. That we now know and understand. Now, the Commission's spokesman, Christian Wigland, told reporters that representatives of the countries that had come to an agreement, but is still needed to be formally adopted by the European Council, it is something which we understand will happen very soon. So now this is not 100% confirmed. It is going to happen, but it may happen. All right. I'm with it all the way till that point. Now, with the summer tourist season just around the corner, the EU is currently working on coordinating its external border measures and finalising the details. And this is what we know so far. So, first of all, will I be able to travel to the EU this summer? That is the question. And this is the answer. After closing external borders in March 2020, travel to the European Union from third country destinations will now be granted to those who have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19. All vaccinations must be EU approved and necessary doses should have been received. This system will come into effect from June. Now, what is the current situation with travelling to the EU? Now, the current situation at the moment is that the EU has a small list of countries whose residents, vaccinated or not, can enter the bloc for non-essential travel. This is decided by infection rates and currently comprises the following countries. So these countries can come in, no trouble whatsoever. They are Australia, Israel, New Zealand, Rwanda, Singapore, South Korea, Thailand, and China. All right. Otherwise, non-essential travel to the EU is based. Sorry, I'll say that again. Otherwise, non-essential travel to the EU is banned, but ambassadors agreed today on loosening the requirements for countries to make this list moving forwards. Anyway, how will the EU COVID-19 certificate work? So again, we're going back to a COVID-19 certificate. The COVID-19 certificate or vaccine passport will enable travellers to prove they are either vaccinated, recovered from coronavirus, or have recently tested negative. Here is what every other country's vaccination passport should have, according to the UN. All right. While the details of this area are still being finalised, it is believed that the majority of certificates will be digitally available on smartphones. However, the EU has outlined that paper versions should also be available. So that is kind of clear. At the moment, as regards coming to Greece from the UK, we're being told in England that you can still come to here, but obviously you're going to have to quarantine for 10 days, do the 2 PCR tests, which is more money, and do your 10 days at home. So again, things are kind of murky as to Britain coming here, but you've also got to remember member states are also making up their own rules at the moment until something overall is ratified as well at the moment. So technically, yes, you can still come if you want to come and you don't mind doing the quarantine. Anyway, what are the next steps? Now, according to Wigland, he could not give a timeline on when the third country travellers could start making bookings to visit the EU, but said, we have seen in the past the council moving very quickly on this. Member states have agreed to set up a coordinated emergency response, which would rapidly suspend third country arrivals in the event of emergency additions and additional coronavirus variants. So at the moment, when it comes to people from the third world coming, third countries that's coming, at the moment, the EU are trying to stop people coming over unless, of course, they have the vaccination, they have some form of proof that they have got immunity in some way, or they've had the disease, it's passed through them and they're of no threat. And at the moment, everybody is going on about Boris at the moment, this big pool of people coming in. In some ways, you've got to look at it like this. If you've got people coming in from the third world, they've already got to have been tested or have a certificate to even get to the airport to fly into the country. So in some ways, what is going to go on? Again, will we make the green list as in Greece? Will Greece make the green list? That is in the hands of the British government and we're still waiting. So in some ways, we're still no clearer as to whether we're going to have a season with the British tourists. I think a lot of people here now, and there's some people I spoke to yesterday are kind of resigning themselves to the fact that they don't see the British coming. And in some ways, they're just making the best of the markets that they have, whether it's with the Polish, whether it's with the Israelis, whether it's with the Serbians, or whether it's with the Italians or their own home market of Greeks. Yes, we want the British, and the British would be a fantastic bonus. But at the moment, until things are clarified, 1, at the UN, 2, with the EU, and 3, with the British government, it is still very foggy as to what is going to transpire for this season. Anyway, another little bit of news that came out yesterday. Speaking on Antenna TV, the General Secretary for Information Systems, Angelopoulos, has confirmed that individuals aged between 40 to 44 in that age group now have access to all 4 of the COVID-19 vaccines currently available in Greece, and that is going to basically start for them on Thursday. Only the AstraZeneca vaccine has so far been offered to people between the ages of 35 and 44. So again, Greece moving ahead still with its vaccination program. Once again, if you're local to the island and you want to get vaccinated, my best advice to you, go to your pharmacist, see your pharmacist, and obviously ask them to book you in for an appointment, and they will do so, and they have been very, very good here so far. Also, another interesting story that came across, and also what I would call a slippery slide at the moment, a slippery slope. All members of Greece's special disaster unit, called EMAK, they now have to be vaccinated against COVID-19 to serve within the outfit, according to an order issued on Tuesday by the fire department. Now, senior fire department officials who have asked to comment on the order said AMCA's rescue units participate in the European Civil Protection Mechanism and therefore must be ready to travel abroad at any given time to help in disaster zones around the world. Anyway, therefore, its staff must be vaccinated against the coronavirus and other infectious diseases to be able to carry out their duties. Now, those who decide to opt out of that team, they are going to be moved to another unit of the fire department. Anyway, this is the first order for mandatory inoculations of a specific sector of the state that has been issued in Greece. So again, we shall wait and see what happens. And finally, a nice little bit of good news. Greece is in the second round of the semi-finals for this year's Eurovision Song Contest. I did play the entry yesterday on my show, and I actually quite like it, along with the British one as well. Greece will be competing against the second batch of competitors, including singers from Iceland, Poland, Bulgaria, Albania and Denmark to reach the finals. Greek-Dutch singer Stefiana represents Greece. I didn't realise that she was Dutch. Anyway, Stefiana became known in the Netherlands at the tender age of 9 when she participated in the Dutch version of a popular talent show called The Voice Kids. Anyway, with an upbeat, hopeful message for the future after the struggles felt internationally due to COVID-19, Stefiana will take part in the second semi-final on Thursday. So that's tonight. Wish her all the best of luck. Also, interestingly, Let's Dance has Greeks feeling optimistic about the country's chances in the competition. And I've got to be honest, played the tune yesterday. A lot of people liked it, and a lot of people liked the British entry as well. Now, just to remind you that the big final for the Eurovision Song Contest is on Saturday, when finalists from 2 semi-finals, as well as the big 5, France, Germany, Italy, Spain and the United Kingdom, with the track called Embers, will complete for first place. And Cyprus is also there as well. I've not played the Cypriot Eurovision song. I'm going to do that on Friday. I'm going to make Friday's show a little bit of a Eurovision special, all right, just to get us feeling a bit happier for the weekend. And the entry for the Eurovision, for Cyprus's entry is Elena Taxagouri. She's a 26-year-old singer from Greece, but she's representing Cyprus with a song called El Diablo. That sounds Spanish. And it has been quite controversial in Cyprus after being accused of having satanic connotations. Well, we'll find about that satanic connotations on on Friday. Right, I'm going to have a quick look because already people are shouting to me here about what's happening with this flight. Is it coming from Liverpool or not? Alf Ling is watching. Okay, nice to have you tuning in. Mike Gatley is watching as well. Nice to see you, Mike. He says, morning, mate. Heather Nash is watching as well. Lindsay Lamb is also watching as well. She lives on the island. Maria Holberg is watching as well. Pat Patel is watching. Steve Hinkling says, Gallimera, lovely here, but it gives rain for later this morning. So there's rain coming to Stoke. Gaz Collins says, Gunner stand too. Hello, Gaz, mate. Old Raff Reg, buddy. Nice to see you tuning in. I hope all is well with you. Wendy Norcliffe is also tuning in as well. And he's collected himself there, Gaz. Gunner. Anyway, Graham Bint is also tuning in from Australia. Nice to see you looking in, big fella. Nice to have you tuning in as well. And all of a sudden the thing is going slow again. Barbara Telfer is also watching as well. Heather Nash says, good morning. Both our weekends isn't looking good for today, tomorrow and the weekend. She says, I'm hibernating. Oh, bless her. That's in Birmingham at the moment. Steve Hinkling says, wish I was on that flight. Yeah. Is that flight actually flying here? That's the question. David Lismore, morning, Ginge. What's the chance of Greece voting for us at the Eurovision? Good song. Do you know what? That's a good question. The thing about the Eurovision Song Contest, it gets all so political. You know for a fact that the Greece are going to give... well, no, it's not always true. One year, Greece actually did give Turkey full points for one of their entries. But on the majority, it's like the EU, isn't it? The Eurovision. We know they never vote for us. Now that we've left Brexit, again... we hadn't been winning. We haven't won the Eurovision Song Contest since I think sometime in the 80s. But it's always interesting to see how the voting goes because it does get rather territorial. And when you've got the likes of Australia taking part in the Eurovision Song Contest, and you've got the likes of Israel taking part in the Eurovision Song Contest, you kind of wonder, well, how bloody big is Europe? I didn't know Europe stretched all the way to Australia. But what I was thinking after the fantastic movie last year, which was Eurovision Song Contest, the Fire Saga story with Will Ferrell, which was absolutely one of the best films to come out of last year. And the Americans not really understanding what Eurovision was all about. I was actually expecting to maybe America dipping their toe into Eurovision because it's all about sponsorship. It's all a money-making thing. I remember here when here in Zakynthos, when I used to work with Stigma, and they used to send a person over to wherever the Eurovision Song Contest was being held to report on it for the local radio station here. It is a massive thing and everybody wants to get in on it. I was on the list for the Eurovision thing for quite a few years. I never went, but it's one of them really big events in Europe which kind of gets poo-pooed in the UK. I think that's because we're not winning it. You know, it's not like the football in some respects. However, I do remember running Eurovision parties at Magdalena's in the past, and it got very competitive, especially when you're giving away free cruises and free meals and free shots and all sorts of other stuff. And we used to have some really good Eurovision nights. But again, it's kind of lost its way. It'll be interesting to see how it's going to be put on, because at the moment, Rotterdam are supposed to be hosting it. And even if you just go online and put in the simple question, where is it to be hosted and how is it to be hosted? It just says Rotterdam. That's it. Doesn't say whether it's going to be in front of an audience, whether it's going to be a virtual audience, whether the groups are all going to be there, whether it's being used as a hub to bring broadcasts in from other locations and doing it all like a bloody great Zoom conference. But anyway, we'll wait and see how the Eurovision goes on Saturday night for the big final. But Greece is in it tonight. Hopefully they'll get a place with their song. And I've got to be on, that song is really good. And I must admit, I do like it. Right, let's have a look. I see more people going on about it. Lindsay Lamb says it's on the Sylvie page about EasyJet. Somebody's dad's on it and it has boarded, so it must have taken off by now. Do you know what? I'm pleased about that. It looks like it's been confirmed through somebody else. Again, I was even thinking about going down the airport just to see if it does arrive. Heather Nash says, me too, Steve. Do need a holiday. Christine Coldwell is tuning in as well. I'm so pleased as well. Nice to have you looking in, my lovely. Catherine Ling is looking as well. Jerry Coyle is watching. John Clifford. Morning, Colin. The weather is better here in Skadubia. Aaron Vardy is watching as well. Hilary Rogers is watching. Angela Fridge Watkins. Hilary Rogers says, morning, Ginge. Sid James is watching as well. Steve Hinkling is watching. Aaron Vardy, he says, I think the cost of tests is ridiculous. Butlins here we come. Believe Skegness is beautiful at this time of year. Just remember, Aaron, Butlins have put their prices up to quite a high amount for what they are. Also, I do know Centre Parks at the moment. Jane's brother is a big Centre Parks fan, and I know holidays at Centre Parks now are really, really expensive in comparison to what they have been in the past. Anyway, we'll wait and see. Sid James says, morning, Ginge. Donna Glanville is watching. Julie White is watching. Derek and Bridget Cole is watching from Cyprus. Good luck with the Eurovision. Steve Hinkling says, government said in its latest briefing that amber doesn't mean we can come on holiday. It's only for special circumstances. Exactly. So basically, people who are flying out, if they're coming to see family reconnection, maybe they've got property here, then they can come over. But again, that was another point that's added confusion is the government saying, and I'm trying to remember, I think it was Matt Hancock, I think, that said that yesterday. Amber isn't for holidays. That was the wording that he used. As well, which just again confuses people even more. If you want to come over and you want to come away, Greece is saying you can come. We've got no problem. It's when you try and go back into the UK. So as people have said, I'm going to come over and stay, and I will sit it out until the end of the season, or as long as I'm allowed to. Once again, remember, you're limited now in time because of the Brexit agreement to 90 days. Maybe it will all change by 90 days. Anyway, thanks for that, Steve, as well. Marie Kalberg from Sweden is tuning in. Julie White, they said go to amber only is essential, not for holidays. So why are they allowing holiday companies to sell them? Exactly. Because if you want to come here, technically you should fly to Athens, and then you should work your way through, come down to Kalini, get on the ferry and come in. So again, but then again, I think the holiday companies have got every right to keep flights going, because at the end of the day, they don't care about your personal business. All they care about is that you meet the criteria. They're not going to sit down and grill you as to what is the reason for your journey? Who are you going to see? Where are you going to stay? So if they're selling the flight, okay, but not the accommodation, then what is the problem? It's the accommodation side, because this is where TUI are hanging out at the moment. They've got the aircraft and they have the accommodation. EasyJet are just about the flight. That's it. EasyJet Holidays, not sure if they're still operating at the moment. Let me know. I'll be curious to see if they're doing that. We'll see. Anyway, Christine Brown is watching. Carol Walker is watching. Gaz Collins, hi, mate. Keep safe, buddy. Thank you. Christine Brown, morning. I've seen some comments. Sheila Worthington says the Liverpool EasyJet is in the air. Yeah, Jane and I were watching it online, actually. And yeah, we were saying, well, we'll wait and see if it arrives. But if somebody is reporting that a relation is on that flight, well, we've just got to trust that is right. And we will see at 5 past. It's an hour delay. I remember Jane said there was an hour delay on the flight, so it was supposed to be landing here at around about 10 past 1 this afternoon. That looks like it might be around about 10 past 2. I'm going to probably take a little whiz around there and just see if this EasyJet flight does actually arrive or not. Because at the moment, the local press, as in the local media, as in Zanti24, Hermes, also Irizita, have not said anything about arrival of flights at the moment. But anyway, we'll wait and see. Anyway, Gail Marsden says, praying for green. Boris wants to make up his mind. Holidays in amber require more testing and quarantines. Since that was set, he is now backtracking, saying don't go for holidays, only special circumstances, i.e. essential travel. Absolutely bonkers. Yeah, it is bonkers. And also another point that's been raised as well is the hysteria over this Indian variant at the moment. When you start looking at the amount of deaths, when you start looking at the amount of infections, when you look at it in context with everything else, they are low. You've got more chance of getting run over than you have of catching the Indian variant. I think traffic accidents is something like 1 in 260,000, and the actual number for infections or getting the infection of the Indian variant is even lower. And when you look at the total amount of deaths that Britain's had, Jane just quickly reminded me of this morning. Britain's had something like 4 or 5 deaths. You've had a very, very low amount of deaths within the last 24 hours. Your death rate has absolutely dropped off. In some ways, we've got a higher death rate than what you've got. And we're a population of 11 million and you're a population of nearly 62 million. So again, Boris, what game are you playing? And as people are talking about, it is the great reset. I feel that the 2020 will be, when they look back in history, they'll say that was the year of the great reset. And when you look at a poor old boy in Witherspoons who couldn't buy a pint because he didn't have an app on his phone to actually order a drink, and he sat there waiting for the staff to come and take an order from him, which eventually somebody bought him a couple of pints on their app. The staff did apologise. They said they misseen him. He was dressed ever so smartly. I've got to give him his due from look at the picture. It does make you wonder, where the hell are we going? That you need an app on your phone to buy a pint of beer in a Witherspoons pub? And the other annoying thing about Witherspoons is this. They were the ones who were championing the Brexit. Their managing director, their owner, was there at the chomp going on about freedom and escape from European tyranny and everything else. But I don't see it as escaping European tyranny at the moment. I see it as escaping corporate tyranny. It's all this app for this, app for that. All the tech companies who are now, it seems to be, trying to destroy the high street, trying to destroy the small business, so that you basically get everything through your phone. Your movements are monitored through your phone. Your medical history is through your phone. And everything about your life is through your phone. And if you haven't got that, or you haven't got it, you don't get anything. And you can just disappear and slip through the net. Anyway, Gary Crowther is watching it as well. Nice to see you, Gary. Andy Orchard, first line responder over there in London. Nice having you tuning in as well. Shane Bowen is tuning in as well. Shane Bowen says, Gallimera from a very sunny Exmoor. Oh, bless you, fella. Gary Crowther says, it is no real musical contest. Just crap songs that brainwash you. Oh, come on, Gary. Don't be such a cynic. I love the Eurovision. And I've got to admit, I do like Graham Norton's commentary. Everybody says, oh, you'll have a hard job replacing Tell. But what's his name? He's done not a bad job, actually, from our point of view. Anyway, Patsy Ann Dobson says, morning from Margate. Margate could do with a few visitors in the summer if you can't come to Greece, that's for sure. Julie White says they've been selling package holidays, EasyJet and TUI. Yep, cheers for that. Yeah, they might be selling them, and they then might be moving dates, shuffling them further later into the season. But remember, and another bit of advice again, hate to keep banging on about this. If you're going to start booking holidays, 1, don't use a debit card, use a credit card. 2, ask if they're going to change your holiday, get them to move it to another date. Do not take vouchers. And book holidays with companies that got ABTA Travel, all right? Because at the moment, a lot of these holiday companies are just trying to survive at the moment, and they don't want to be giving away money or giving money back because they want to keep the flow going. Anyway, Gail Marsden says, I think the hysteria that's being created over the Indian variants is another part of Boris's game plan. Listen, I don't think Boris has got a game plan at the moment. Boris is bought. Let's be honest. I couldn't believe yesterday the headlines over his fucking wallpaper, okay? £814 a roll wallpaper, and it's coming off the walls. People say, I don't care about the wall. Joe, you should care about the wallpaper, because somebody has paid for it. Some company, some little donor to the Tory party has paid for it as part of getting an ear to Boris to put confusion in his bloody head. If they'd put Magnolia up on the wall and had it like Margaret Thatcher had it as a Spartan place for work, you don't entertain foreign dignitaries in the private flat at number 10. It's a place to eat and sleep and be above the shop to get on with the job that you have to do. You're not there for life. You're there for as long as the people want you there. And then when you go because you lose the election, whoever the next tenant in moves in and takes that accommodation. If you're going to be entertaining dignitaries from afar, you do that at Chequers. And they like a nice weekend in the country. All right. But again, it's the money. It's the corruption that now is seeping into the open. You just have to look at it. £814 for one roll of wallpaper, which, to be honest, that's more than some people are earning in a month, especially here in Greece, and maybe that's more than some people are on in a way of some benefit money to try and survive living over in the UK. So anyway, let's have a look. Anyway, Dean McGuff is tuning in as well. Hello, Dean. We are going to meet up for that coffee today. All right, in main stage, I will be with you. Listen, I've been ranting on too long. I'm still keeping my ear to the ground. Trust me, it is so difficult at the moment trying to logically cover news the way things are going on. I think everybody is exasperated with what's going on. TUI are still not saying when they are going to start their people arriving. They might be selling their holidays. They might be doing business online, which is keeping money flowing into the companies to keep them propped up and alive. But at the end of the day, until we start seeing the planes touching down on the tarmac, and I'm hoping that this flight is coming in from Liverpool today. It does land today here in Zakynthos, and EasyJet have made a stand, because I know EasyJet have been very vocal, and their managing director has turned round and said, we need to make the testing cheaper. We need to make the testing easier, because at the moment the testing is costing more than our flights. I will be convinced that, yeah, we're going to start to see some British. So if you're there, those people are on that flight and they say they're coming, I'll take you at your word. But until that plane touches down on the tarmac here in Zakynthos this afternoon at around about maybe 3:10, I will believe it when I see it. And that, I'm afraid, is the way that we're having to live at the moment here in Zakynthos. Until we see it, we will believe it, all right? Because at the moment, a lot of promises are being made, and at the moment, we are not seeing delivery being made. The only thing that we can rely on at the moment are the Polish, the Italians, the Serbians, and the Israelis. But I'm not going to go there with the Israelis at the moment with everything that's going on. But anyway, let's wait and see. I'll keep my ear to the ground. Thank you once again for staying loyal and tuning in. Sorry if this is sounding like a bit of a rant today, but at the end of the day, sometimes things have got to be said, and we've got to see what's happening. But anyway, if I get taken down, you know the reason why. Anyway, I'll catch you later. You take care, you stay safe, and you have a good day. Ta-ra.